4 new felony charges filed against him in connection with the January 6th, quote, election interference. And he's threatening to take this newest fight with the Department of Justice all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, if you are a regular viewer of Scripps News tonight, and we hope you are, this development probably didn't surprise you because you saw criminal law specialist Lou Shapiro say this on our show last night.
You have to think about what the long game is. The long game is not going to be with the jury. The long game is going to be with the United States Supreme Court.
Fresh off that crystal ball call, Lou Shapiro is back with us tonight. Lou, you said it. Trump is talking about getting the Supreme Court involved. What could that look like? Break that down for us, if you don't mind.
So the Supreme Court is the ultimate decider on what is constitutional and what isn't, what prosecutions fly and which ones fail. Because a jury is not something that the Trump camp will want to rely on, given the breakdown of where this all is taking place, they're hoping that the Supreme Court, which, as we know, has many Trump appointees on it and is leaning towards a more conservative direction these days, will test the prosecution's theories very carefully. One of them that they'll be looking at is what's called the defense of absolute immunity, that a president is immune from anything that he or she does during the presidency, as long as that work is done on behalf of the presidency. And we can start with that prong if you like.
Yeah, let me make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. So the idea is that the defense could, regardless of outcome of the initial outcome of these cases, is it just they will appeal and appeal and appeal until it goes to the Supreme Court? That's kind of what I'm trying to understand here. At what point does the Supreme Court have to weigh in on these issues that we're seeing with former President Trump?
So it depends on what strategy his attorneys take in terms of how fast they want to move this case. They can try to get the Supreme Court to come into play even before a trial. They can file what's called writs based on rulings that are going against them by the judge to take it up. First, they have to take it up to the Court of Appeal, and then it goes higher up, ultimately to the U.S. Supreme Court. Sometimes they're even able to fast track certain matters to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's a whole world of its own appellate law. But taking a step back, the question is, do you do that now or do you do that after a trial? And that's the decision that Trump's lawyers will have to make on a strategic end. Given that the election is about a year away, they may want to see how far along they can get a trial date to be set. Because as long as it's set after the election date, I think Trump is hoping that he will win the election and then be able to pardon himself. And then all these legal issues sort of fall to the wayside. So that's probably what they're going to be looking for first. How long will this judge at this point give them for a trial date?
Yeah, and we understand that, delay is a popular tactic here and one that, former President Trump's camp may be looking into. I want to look at the conditions of former President Trump's release. One of those conditions has gotten a lot of attention, and that's the part where he can't talk to witnesses without a lawyer present. This could make things very difficult, considering the number of witnesses and the profile of some of them, like former Vice President Mike Pence. If you are one of Trump's attorneys, how exactly do you handle this situation?
Well, it's a very difficult one. Because a lot of these potential witnesses are people that Trump may be interacting with on a regular basis anyways, regardless of whether this case was outstanding. So as an attorney, they'll be advising him, just keep a distance, don't talk to them about anything, not just case-related issues, but anything at all. But realistically, that's very difficult to do. But he'll do his best. His attorneys will advise him. And if there are any violations of that order, you can be rest assured the prosecution will bring him back into court for the judge to admonish him and address them accordingly.
Yeah. With the last little bit of time we have here, for the unnamed co-conspirators, how might they play into the defense's strategy? Is there any accounting on the defense side of what these co-conspirators may or may not say to the prosecution? This is just with the last 30, 45 seconds we have here.
So the unnamed co-conspirators are, some of them are obviously lawyers. Some of them were in his inner circle. Some names have been released in terms of what people think, who the people think they are. But I think at the end of the day, it's very tricky for Trump. These are people that he will probably say that he trusted, that he relied upon, especially if they are his lawyers. And if they are his lawyers and gave him advice that he could challenge the election at that time, and he relied on their advice, he will say that, they provided him with that advice, and he'll be asserting the advice of counsel defense. And that will bring conflict between him and these co-conspirators. So a lot to be, discovered once the case unravels.
Yeah. Certified criminal law specialist Lou Shapiro, thank you so much for joining us again. We appreciate your time.
You got it.